Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Astrological's Racing. Today, we're going to be getting into the ASETEK ecosystem for the first time ever, courtesy of Podium on Racing. And if you guys are looking for some amazing gear, and a lot of these peripherals that are actually attached to the triple 43-inch 4K rig that I'm going to be covering a lot more over the next couple months and doing an updated tour video of everything that is about 90% set up of where it should be in here. Go ahead and check them out because a lot of the peripherals actually did come from Podium on Racing as well. Speaking of which, none of which I'm going to say is swayed left or right because of a certain manufacturer or a distributor. This is purely from personal experience and everything that I have experienced, right, from these wheelbases, just like the SimMagic one, no affiliation whatsoever with SimMagic or no direct contact with ASETEK either. Anyways, let's get into this. We're going to be looking at the ASETEK flagship of a wheelbase. Now this is 27 Newton meters, which is just absolutely anything greater. There's nothing crazier I've ever touched. I had the flagship of a SimMagic Ultimate wheelbase, which was 23 Newton meters just a few months back, and I ran that for about a year and a half. Absolutely amazing wheelbase, and then we switched over to the SimMagic Evo Pro and 18 Newton meters, and I said, you know what? Sometimes it's not always about the biggest sledgehammer. It's about how much precision and how much of a scalpel tool you can surgically, meticulously do inside of a wheelbase, because the slew rate and the detail can significantly trump a larger and more powerful wheelbase. Now, I will say that with ASETEK, I truly believe that this is not only packing a huge and heavy punch of a wheelbase, 27 Newton meters, but it also has the combination of all of the fine detail, the slew rate, and everything in between. It's absolutely incredible. So again, this is not to force you into a decision of, hey, you need to go out and buy this. I'm honestly just here to present all of the facts, all of the numbers, and with all of the information that you can find online yourself and a little bit of personal experience with other wheelbases, you guys can make that sound decision on your own. So this video is going to be broken up into about 5 or 6 different sections. The first section, we're going to be talking about the price point. Second section is going to be the physical software. Third portion is going to be more of a QR system, which I found to be extremely unique and against other competitors in a similar price range. And then of course, like the ecosystem as well. And then we'll gather some performance tests. We'll hop on the rig and actually test out a couple of different sims. And then finally, we'll wrap things up where we will essentially get all of our final thoughts from everything, see if it's worth it, and we'll go from there. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. My first impressions of the ASETEK wheelbase is that it's a pretty massive wheelbase, and in fact it is 11.3 kg, which is pretty freaking heavy of a wheelbase considering I've tested SimMagic, all of their different wheelbases. It is a much larger footprint, so it is no slouch when it comes to the actual components of the internals. Now, we're not going to be a wheel Ford today and break everything down. We're not going to take this wheelbase apart. If you guys do want to see all of the technical aspects of this entire build from every millimeter of the insides, the innards of this wheelbase, I highly encourage you to go check out the hour-long review of the ASETEK review that Will Ford put back out, I think it was almost 2 years ago. But I would encourage you guys to go check that out if you want to see all of the meticulous detail and how everything was constructed. And I'll give you the synopsis of what I gathered from when I saw and what he experienced. Excuse me. This is very similar build quality to the SimiCube 2 Ultimate wheelbase, which obviously the price point of that is astronomical, right? In the consensus of what he did in the comparison of the build quality of this wheelbase, again, going off of Will Ford's comparison here, is that it is extremely similar, if not right on par with the exact same build quality that you see with the SimiCube 2 Ultimate wheelbases. And obviously slightly higher is what he said than the Fanatec ecosystem and build quality as well. Now, comparison of the SimMagic, I can't give you a direct comparison, but I can tell you that with the actual build quality of what I'm seeing with the ASETEK, is that there's only one downside that I saw on this. The whole thing is basically made out of die-cast metal, right? The only little piece that I really wish was metal was that little front cover right there. Now that is plastic and it does give it a little bit lesser of a feel. Now again, this is all personal preference, but it would have been nice to see this entire thing casted out of actual metal as opposed to that little front part being plastic, which that's not really a deal breaker, but it is something that I noticed. You'll notice that there are also 4 RGB strips on this, and that is to display, I mean, honestly, it's no different from the Evo. It's all for looks, it's all for show. And when you have fancy rigs like Podium, for example, and you don't have to put this wheelbase in behind, which I want to talk about that very briefly. When you add motion and the wheelbase is sitting up in front of the monitors, you do see relevant actual information like flags, green lights, yellow flags, left and right indicators of your opponents being on the left or right. And even when you are braking, the actual pedals there, they actually turn red as well. Now there's pretty cool information obviously on the Evo wheelbase as well with their new RGB ring light, and I said I don't really care for it. I have cool, like I said, I have the cool LEDs and RGBs on the Podium rig here as well, but it's obviously not a deal breaker for me. Now for some and most, including myself in the very beginning of all this, I thought the RGB was actually pretty cool, and now I'm going for more of the most realistic experience that I can possibly get, and it's kind of just this added benefit of looking a little bit more attractive. So again, personal preference on all of that. The next section is going to be where can you actually get this wheelbase, at least if you are in the United States. Like I've said, Podium One Racing right now, because we're still dealing with some weird stuff and the actual tariffs going on with other countries. Now that being said, to avoid all of the stress of trying to buy overseas or certain companies, I'm not going to name some of them, obviously they know who they are, the ones that are like SimLab Europe, or some of the, I think Digital Motorsports was one at one point, but there are a lot of retailers and manufacturers that are out of the United States realm that of course we get hit with import fees, and the price is jumped significantly. That being said, if you are looking for peripherals, not just ASETEK, but Cubic, I mean, all different types of motion systems and turnkey setups that you can actually find at Podium One Racing at your convenience, mainly because you don't have to pay for all of those, all of those extra import fees. And for some, that can be a deal breaker when it's an extra $500 or $800 for something super simple. So if you guys are looking for some extra peripherals, especially when it comes to the actual system of ASETEK, you can find that over at Podium One Racing. Let's talk briefly about the encoder. So obviously we're pretty familiar with the SimMagic Evo encoder, how we went from an 18-bit encoder to a 21-bit encoder. Now ASETEK's ecosystem, and at least this one specifically that I noticed, is always just a smidge higher, right? So this actually has a 22-bit encoder, which with a resolution of, and I'm going to put this on the screen as I read this, this is 0.000085 degrees, translating to 4 million steps per wheel revolution for unparalleled precision. Now, I emphasize this on the Evo wheelbase because I think it was like 2.8 million or something like that. This is 4 million revolutions, 4 million steps per wheel revolution for unparalleled precision. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that actually mean, that 0.00085 degrees of motion? That literally means what we're talking about here is the physical ring of the center of the wheelbase. And I don't know if you guys have a wheelbase at your disposal right now. I'm sure a lot of you do. But when you go to turn that, sometimes you'll feel tiny little notches. Tiny notches. Evo wheelbase, absolutely zero. It's like zero gravity. It's silky smooth. It's amazing. But we go back to like the 18-bit encoder of the SimMagic Ultimate. It is almost hairline stuff. Like you guys, most people wouldn't notice this, and I want to emphasize that to the common person, even a professional driver, maybe, but an enthusiast like myself, you'll notice these little notches inside of a wheelbase, and that can actually hinder some of the detail in the slew rate being felt throughout the hands when you're, the translation wheelbase and your hands on the steering wheel. Is that a huge difference? Not necessarily huge, but when you go to turn this thing, it is like a zero gravity machine. There's no notchiness. There's no, some of them are just, it's noticeable, right? And this is something very important to note because this actually has a significantly higher encoder at 4 million revolutions per wheel revolution. So, and I don't like to shoot other competitors in the face, but we like to compare them, right? So when we're comparing to ASETEK, for example, they've been around for a long time. There's nothing wrong with their ecosystem. A lot of us actually start here and then we switch over to SimMagic, SimuCube, or even ASETEK for this video. This does technically outshine ASETEK's lower end direct drive wheelbases by eliminating the cogging and the lag and delivering buttery smooth feedback. Again, this isn't to take shots at ASETEK. Obviously, a lot of us have experienced ASETEK gear or even Moza gear, for example. I think that they're all great companies, and I think that there's just different levels. That's all there is. There's different levels of quality, and that's actually what makes this sim racing space extremely special because of all of the crazy competition going on, and it gives us reviewers like ourselves, creators, amazing chance to explain to you guys the major key differences between all of this amazing gear as well. As we're driving on the wheelbase itself, you can actually feel every bump and curb. This is very, very obvious things that I bullet pointed here, but you can feel the actual curbing. It's extremely detailed. See this with mid-tier to higher wheelbases that you can actually feel more prevalent details of the track, like the Nürburgring, for example. You'll actually be able to feel the little notches inside of a bump, the rumble strips, right? You'll be able to feel the drop-off points, the tire buoyancy at which they hit, which is, it's actually really relevant for you to hear, as opposed to I'm actually glad I went to my dad's shop yesterday because I got to play on the Logitech G923, the belt-driven, and I'm like, man, I thought this was it. I truly thought this was like the pinnacle of sim racing. And it wasn't until I checked out, and again, not to get off topic here, other creators like Will Ford, Boosted Media, Race Beyond Matter, and a few others, Alex K Racing, that I saw, wow, I didn't even scrape the surface of sim racing at the time. So it was actually really cool, really notable to see that there's a lot more out there, and there's a lot more that is possible. What we're going to talk about next is the innovative quick release system. So I'll show you here on my GSI wheel. A lot of these manufacturers, what they will do, see if that'll focus right there, they will give you basically options to have a USB-A. What these manufacturers like GSI will do, they actually have a direct connection that you can buy for this this actual GSI wheel. This is the GSI FPE V2 wheel, which is truthfully, it is my favorite. This is the best wheel that I've ever tested and had in my entire life. The build quality, the grips, the buttons, the shifters, the overall design, it's just, I don't know how they're going to top it, but I'm just extremely, extremely impressed with how that is. Anyways, I have a full-length video on this wheel and a few videos back if you do want to go ahead and check that out. Now, when it comes to the quick release system, Will Ford, and I'm going to refer to his video a little bit because I did watch it extensively because he is truthfully the standard when it comes to hitting all of the meticulous details, which is extremely important, extremely crucial, right? So this quick release system is very similar to the SimuCube quick release system. You can see that it has a very similar shape and design. Inside of here, you have the actual notches where it connects onto the wheelbase there, which is actually pretty notable. So, and then on top here, this is what that right actually clicks it onto the wheelbase and locks it in. Now these springs here, I don't know if you can see down inside of here, there is a actual spring. See if I can turn right there. That actually keeps tension onto the physical QR where it won't come undone. It locks it into place, and it is truly one of the coolest plug-and-play solutions that I've ever seen. It's actually extremely nice. And you can see the same thing that I have on the Mercedes wheel. This is all integrated. As you can see, I had a USB connected on that one, which is no big deal. But this is a Cube Controls, wheel here. That, of course, you can see the integrated solution that they can, you can buy this direct from the website, or you could buy aftermarket as well. but it is a USB pass-through. You can connect directly onto the extension itself, and you will have seamless integration wirelessly, which is just also super cool. If you guys haven't seen this review yet, this is the Mercedes Q Controls wheel review. Also extremely sweet wheel. That Mercedes wheel, I mean, as you guys can, this thing is also massive, almost too wide, right? But it's for good reason, for very good reason. I actually really like the build quality of wheels. It's one of my favorite GT style wheels. Being a larger person with bigger hands, this is something that you'd probably want. The quick release system is expensive, okay? So I like it. From the SimMagic ecosystem. Now you have the SimMagic quick release system that is obviously much cheaper. This is a 70 millimeter quick release, and you can usually get these for like 60 or 70 bucks. Cool thing about these is that you can put these directly onto really any type of wheel, right? The ASETEKs that, you know, is a little bit drawback is that they are expensive. They are usually 100 to 120, 130 bucks. That's the only downside that I've seen, and the fact that they are extremely hard to get a hold of. They are very rare because they sell out very quickly, and that's for good, and that tells you a lot of good things as well, is that I've never had a problem with them. I think that is an incredibly nice design, and I think a lot of these other companies out there are going to be, you know, moving into the direction of including the Evo here, a USB pass-through. So everything is going to be wireless. It goes directly into there, and you don't have to worry about extra USBs and extra cables dangling, because it's not convenient. Right, so we want less cords, more convenience at a competitive rate, you know, and that also means, you know, at that competitive rate and more wireless technology that typically comes with the increase of QRs, which again, 100, 120 bucks for a QR. It's not a deal breaker. It is what it is. So that is the QR ecosystem. I like it. I really do. I think it's innovative. I think it's great, and I think that more companies should start moving in that direction of a quick release. Now, there is a customizable and future-proof design on this wheelbase itself. So there's a compact form factor with multiple mounting options, which I'm going to label right here. You have the cable clamp, you have the side mount, the bottom mount, and the front mount, and this fits any type of rig setup. On the back of the wheelbase here, you have 5 USB-C imports for connecting pedals, wheels, future peripherals, making it a central hub for your racing ecosystem. So that's one thing that I really do like about the ASETEK ecosystem here on the rear end of this, including the new Evo 2. This one also does, and I think a lot of companies are starting to really understand you can't have all of your peripherals into the physical PC itself. And I'm not even going to jump off the deep end on this, but no matter what kind of PC you have, if you have too many USBs connected to it, your PC is not going to like you really at all, right? So it's a central hub for literally anything and everything you want to do peripheral-wise. Now, obviously, you want to have DDUs and anything outside of that ASETEK ecosystem that isn't ASETEK, then you have to do an obvious direct-to-PC or USB hub as well. Now, another thing is that it has 6 customizable ARGB LED strips, which I actually talked about a little bit. I said, you know, with the Evo, it is what it is. I think it's kind of cool. There is relevant information. If you have cool Podium 1 rigs, or if you have a motion system where you can see all of this happening in front of the screens, not behind the screens, it's sweet. It looks cool. When you turn the wheel, some of the wheels will have like different integrated lights that rotate the wheel. When you're braking, when you're hitting the throttle, when you have enemies, I like to call enemies, opponents, left and right when they're passing or you're passing them, flags, tons of relevant information you can map to these RGBs, and that's another thing, you know. It's just super cool that they have that as well. It's an added feature. We're gonna be jumping into the physical RaceHub software, and with this RaceHub software here, there is a few key features that I want to talk about. So RaceHub's, or ASETEK's RaceHub software allows you to have precise tuning of the force feedback, the LED settings, and all of the peripherals. I would say that it's extremely user-friendly, it's easy to use, and any type of torque or overall force feedback that you can, articulate, and you get different types of different profiles, everything like that. It's a very straightforward. It makes it easy to dial in your perfect setup, whether you're a beginner or a seasoned racer, of course, right? And one of my favorite features is that it will save different profiles to the different sims that you have in store. So whether you're playing, Automobilista 2 or iRacing or LMU, you're able to set different car classes and different profiles within those car classes and have different types of drive types, whether you're in the rain, whether you're on the Nords, where you have a cup car. There's just endless possibilities when it comes to customizing this wheelbase to your liking. And the cool thing is, I really just have one or two profiles. I have an F1 setup, and then I have a GT3 setup. Everything, like how the game translates to the software, it's basically seamless, and it's actually really amazing how well it actually works in between all of the sims. So yeah, one or two profiles is all you really need when it comes to the RaceHub software. So you have on the wheelbase itself, when you boot up the computer, it's going to into low torque mode, and until you open up the physical software and you press OK, then it'll boot into high torque mode. So there's an added feature there. So like if you had a kid or somebody who's booting on your PC, that wheelbase was left on for whatever reason, PC, get onto the desktop, or you start a sim, that will still be in low torque mode until you enable it and press OK within the software every single time. So it's like taking the safety off of a gun every single time. And I think that's super nice feature because, some people, it's safety, especially me having kids, or they want to boot up the PC. This will only have an output of, I believe it's 8 Newton meters until you decide to, enable it, press torque mode, 27 Newton meters, and then we can really start balling, right? So this also has a slew rate of 9.4 Newton meters per second. Newton meters per millisecond. This ensures a rapid response without clipping, giving edge over the Moza R21 version 2, which has a slightly less torque of 21 Newton meters. Now again, I wanted to talk about this high torque wheelbase. It's not just a big sledgehammer like the ultimate wheelbase that all of us are so close and so near to our hearts. We love that. It's not just a sledgehammer. Think of it as a razor sharp sledgehammer. So it's the combination of the two. So you have the meticulous twin turbo Ferrari, but it also has a ton of modded upgrades to it to give it that extra power around cornering, right? So that's kind of the picture I'm trying to paint for you guys, is that it's not just a big sledgehammer. 27 Newton meters, that's a lot. Now I would recommend never running it at its full capacity. This will break limbs. This will break your wrists. It is extremely, it's dangerous. When you crash into walls, just be prepared. I tell my friends, take your hands off the wheel. And I'll even put the wheelbase at like 15, 20% of what it's capable of. I couldn't imagine. Now, the power's there if you need it, but that's not the point of the wheelbase. The wheelbase is to obviously have less power draw, less power consumption, while you have all of this added detail, the slew rate, the wheel speed, all of these little things make up for the power, and you can push those to its limits by obviously increasing the overall torque and the force feedback. But I will say that you don't need that much. It's not necessary, like at all, in any circumstance. So, and again, disclaimer, do not ever run this wheelbase at 100% power in any circumstance, like at all. You can injure, you can actually hurt somebody, you can hurt children, kids, like don't do it. It's extremely powerful. It operates extremely quiet and stays cool even during long sessions, unlike some high torque bases that can overheat. Now the measuring stick here would be second generation SimMagic wheelbases that have the heat sink built onto the physical wheelbase. Obviously it's a much smaller of a footprint, but the thing that you will notice is that these things get super, super hot, blazing hot, to where you touch it and you're like, oh, like, damn, dude, that's crazy. You could, easily like fry an egg on these wheelbases. That's how hot they get. Now, this one being a larger footprint, it doesn't have the built-in fans like the Evo does, which is cool, but it makes up for that because of the massive amount of power that it's able to, how do you say that? The massive amount of power that it's able to cushion, right? So like when I say that by cushion is that you will never have to run this wheelbase to where it should ever get hot. I ran it for a 2-hour stint on an endurance race, and I had the wheelbase maybe on 40 or 50% of its overall power, and I went to touch it. It was the same temperature of the room, which was like 75, 80 degrees, maybe degrees Fahrenheit. Nothing. It's, you know what I mean? It's just, you would think that, you know, these larger wheelbases with higher power, Howards would have a significant effect on the actual heating element if there isn't a cooler on there. But I will say that with the ASETEK, it's no problem at all. The other thing to talk about is the price point. Okay, we have a very similar competitor when it comes to numbers and specs. Okay, so that's going to be the SimuCube 2 Ultimate Wheelbase. The biggest difference here that you're going to see is the price. Okay, that's going to be the most significant change that you see here. Now, I will say that, again, I have not tried the SimuCube 2 Ultimate Wheelbase. I've tried the SimuCube 2 Sport, I believe it was. No, actually I might have at Podium. I might have tested that on a motion rig, but I will say that, and this is a little disclaimer, I did get to test it, okay? But the problem with testing it there was that I was combining it with motion, so any type of effect that I was really trying to feel was muddied out by the motion. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just can't speak on a direct experience with the wheelbase because it was combined with the P1X or the spider motion, the actuators. There was too much going on for me to really focus in on the wheelbase. I was really trying to focus on staying on the road and feeling the motion, because that was really what where my brain was at the time. So don't take that in a wrong way. You know, I really wanted the first-hand experience, but that wasn't on my mind at the time. So it's all good. You can get very similar effects and have a very similar experience to the actual wheelbase of what you would feel in a SimuCube 2 Ultimate Wheelbase, priced at $3,000 versus $1,300. I think that's a significant price change. For the longest time, and a lot of you guys already know this, SimuCube has been at the top of their game for forever. I mean, ever since they've marketed. And I think that they're still kind of there in a sense, but I think that there's other manufacturers, including ASETEK, including SimMagic, that have come a significant long way to make up for the distance that SimuCube was, you know, so far ahead. A lot of these other companies are starting to catch up quite a bit. And then, you know, they're actually able to come in at a relatively affordable cost. So $1,300 versus $3,000. I think I'm going to stick with the ASETEK just because of that. Now, we're going to talk about some of the main guys who are sponsored, right? And this isn't to, you know, say, hey, these reviewers are in favor of this wheelbase because they're sponsored by it, right? And I'll say the same thing that I'll tell my viewers here as well. Just because a reviewer is getting sent a product doesn't mean that. Now, in some cases, I could be wrong here. A lot of the time that we see, more than half of the time, the reason why a reviewer is pushed in a certain direction of, you know, saying something nice about a company or giving a company a good kudos is because typically they're getting paid directly from the company and they sponsor a lot. But that's not the case, especially when it comes to boosted media. Will Ford, for example, he is not that type of guy. It even says in a lot of the contracts that he signs directly with the manufacturers, and I read it, we're not going to have any type of, you know, agreement to where I'm not going to say this because you tell me to. I'm not going to say this because you're going to pay me X amount. I'm not going to be in favor of your company because you pay me more. And I think that's so amazing, and it's authentic that he made that very public. He says that, and I'm the same way. Truthfully, there's no reason, and I hate to say it this way, there's no reason to follow somebody that is swayed by money And you know, at the end of the day, they're opinionated because of company of what they tell them to say. I think that people should have their own opinions, and based on those opinions, give somebody like the buyers an actual good standing point, you know, a good taste in mouth. Because truthfully, at the end of the day, a lot of us, you can see and smell crap a mile away.
All right, we are recording over here.
Let's go ahead and hop on the rig.
And we are recording up here. So. All right, very good. All right, so here we are on the ASETEK. This is ASETEK Competizione, and what we're seeing here is the Porsche. This is the, I believe, the 992 GT3. So, wanted to talk about, no, this isn't my first impressions on the wheelbase. Obviously, we have had quite a bit of testing going on in between, you know, just this time frame as well. But I will say that we are currently on maximum in-game software settings, and we run the physical game settings. I'm going to see if I can pull that up just really quick, if you guys can see this. So go to options, controls. I'm running it currently at 57% gain, dynamic gain or damping at 100%, road effects 15%, and then the frequency at 400 hertz. I really try to keep everything else pretty raw in that aspect. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I try to keep it pretty low. I'm running it at about 57% of the 27 Newton meters. And yeah, let's just, that's just your reference point right there, y'all. So now, if you guys haven't noticed already, I've already started building out the augmented experience for the triple 4K rig, and I'm pretty excited with how everything is turning out so far. Obviously, there's still a lot more to do, but that's for another video. So, what I'll notice here is, in comparison to a few of the other wheelbases out there, is just the amount of detail and power that you feel in synchronization with this wheelbase. Now, I have tested this also on iRacing, which is also one of the best that you can obviously test this out on. Give you the most accurate information as well. Oh boy. But I am honestly extremely impressed with how amazing this wheelbase feels, especially with this obvious amazing wheel as well. But this is truly a work of art as well. And I'm going to be saving this wheel for a closer look another time, but you can at least see it firsthand here. So some of the first things that I notice, and I'm trying to give you guys as raw feedback as possible. So when it comes to feeling the actual tires on the road, there's not a wheelbase that comes closer to that connectivity that I've felt on any wheelbase. When it comes to the precision and power of the ASETEK Invicta wheelbase, the amount of detail that you feel is just, it's insane. And it's really hard for me to put this into words for you guys, just because there's just so much going on at once, and it's really hard to obviously articulate that information with something that is being felt. I said the same thing about some of these haptics reviews as well. But this is also something that, you know, because of the flexibility with how many different types of profiles that you're able to do, the options are endless when it comes to how you would like this wheelbase to feel in your hands. You can make this as forceful or detailed as possible with the amount of configuring that you can do. The really cool thing is that, you know, I'm only running it at around 57% or so, and I have gotten somewhat used to it over the course of time. But you would never run it, I would never run it even close to 60 or 70%. That is just absolutely insane, especially if you get into wrecks or collisions. Then you're looking at even a crazier experience on top of that. the tire buoyancy, the information is just absolutely amazing. It gets actually pretty intense at one point, at a few points on this track, as well as a lot of you guys already know this. Let's see if I can at least catch up here. I'm over here blabbering, trying to give you first-hand experience, and I'm not even really trying to focus too much on the race. I'm really trying to articulate how amazing this feels. Let's see if we can at least catch up to the pack here. I also just want to point out here, the Philips Hue light system that I have here above, I got 3 of them installed courtesy of the mounting solutions by Simfire. They look and feel, obviously look amazing. Wow. Oh man. It's truly, and I would say that, you know, SimMagic has been near and dear to my heart for a very, very long time. As you guys know, that was the first wheelbase system that I've ever got into when it came to a direct drive system. To this date, ASETEK blows it out of the water by a good 20 to 30%. I mean, it's that significant of a difference when it comes to the information, overall fidelity, the detail, and obviously the power. So like how I was explaining to you guys earlier is that, you know, obviously the SimMagic Evo wheelbase at 18 Newton meter, their pro wheelbase that just released, isn't like a big sledgehammer. It's not a whole lot of power, but it delivers a ton of, you know, the 21-bit encoder, which is much faster of a slew rate. You feel so much more detail, much quicker. It can and will rip the wheelbase right out of your hands on impact on certain curves if you don't dial it in correctly. The same goes over here, okay? So the ASETEK wheelbase has the best of both worlds. It has your extremely heavy pack-a-punch of a wheelbase, but it also delivers the fine detail that you would feel actually a lot more than inside of the Evo wheelbase. And I think that's extremely important to point out, because a lot of people, there's usually a sacrifice for one or the other, right? When it comes to overall force feedback, like power, usually precision is left a little bit behind from the equation. And to my surprise, ASETEK Invicta 27 Newton meter wheelbase was able to deliver on both of those points, power and precision. And it's like how are they able to do that? It's the engineers, it's the masterminds, it's the software, it's the entire team that, you know, put their heads together and said, hey, you know what? Why can't we have both? There's a lot of companies out there, they have to sacrifice one or the other. And this isn't, oh boy. Oh my gosh, I forgot how good that is. And this isn't to like say, hey, these other companies, they suck because they can't deliver power and performance. That's just industry standard, right? Like, it's hard to, you know, hit both points, power and precision. I keep saying that because it's such a rare occurrence for a wheelbase to have both. It's like when it comes to different classes of Ferraris and Lamborghinis, you know the Lamborghinis, it's extremely lightweight, but typically you'll lose a lot of the overall top speed of one. Especially when you're racing on the Nordschleife, for example, you know, they're pretty accurate when it comes to cornering and all of those things, but for the most part, the Porsche, at least from my experience here, what we're racing right now, will deliver the best of both worlds out of mid-engine vehicle. But I can see the hype. I can feel the hype. I see why there are so many people that are drawn to this ecosystem, because not everybody can afford a semi-cube wheelbase. And when it comes to power and precision of the semi-cube to ultimate wheelbase, not everybody has, oops, my nose issues. Not everybody has $3 grand to drop on a wheelbase. A lot of people would want to save that extra couple $1,000 and maybe even invest into, you know, put that towards actuators or a motion system, right? And this isn't to say that there's anything wrong with the Simucube ecosystem or the company. It's just that other companies are finally figuring out ways to deliver without having to have a massive price tag attached to it. It's kind of like Audi and Lamborghini relationship, right? Audi has Audi components, right? But also, so does a Lamborghini. It's like, yo, what? So, and you'll see this. Oh boy, this Mercedes. Every single time, the Mercedes over here. Every time, dude. They're the quickest. Especially on straights. I can't. There's no competing with the Mercedes AMG. And I think the KTM is quicker than me too. That's crazy on straights. Craziness. And then as soon as we get into some cornering up here, oh god, we can't absorb these corners. I can. Oh, little love tap for you, buddy. And so, my final thoughts, at least on this wheelbase alone, it actually feels like it actually feels better after that lap. It actually warmed up the internals. Maybe that's just me. I don't know if that's a thing where the wheelbase is warmed up and I feel a little bit more detail now. But after that lap right there, it's either me or the wheelbase, I don't know, or it's both. I feel much more connected to the physical tires, the wheels, everything. So that's pretty cool. I think the tires also warmed up. I think that's another thing. I'm feeling more details as the tires warm up. And typically, you'll see that like in LMU, for example, and I should be testing LMU and iRacing because those give you the best overall force feedback. And everybody's probably like, oh, aren't you testing on those? And I absolutely should be, you're right. But I will say that for a visual standpoint, I really like ASETEK. And ASETEK has come a long way. Competizione, this actually still feels really amazing. I don't care what anybody says, this game feels really, really good for what it is. Let's see if we can catch up to the pack here. It's a possibility I might. I'm not gonna hold my breath on it though. Be cool. And as we approach sunset here, you can see how the interior is actually shifting kelvins to a more of an amber color now. Looks really, really pretty in here. Shout out to Philips Hue System. I know there's so many other, so many different types of ambient lighting out there, but I will say that Philips Hue, when it comes to the luminosity of color, the response rate, it's truly superior. Oh God! See, and there's a good example of hitting a curb, pretty rough there. Wow. And again, guys, this is a 4080 Super AMD 9800X3D on triple 4K, 144 hertz. We're tuned at 120 hertz for triple 4K. Philips screens. Now, these aren't monitors, and I wish that they were, but I couldn't pass up this deal at a high refresh rate. Little pro tip for you guys: if you guys are looking for just technology in general, AI can be a useful tool. And I said, hey AI, I want you to find me the best 43-inch screens at a high refresh rate, best bang for my buck. And you know, it took it a minute, and these popped up. I went to Walmart, and after I bought 3 of these, I think they're around 300 a piece, around there, maybe a little over 3, they were no longer available. I don't know if that's still around the United States. I was actually looking at them to get them again last night, and just because I wanted to see, you know, what the stock looked like, and they were out. So it's hard to get your hands on these screens right now. They look really good though. But that's besides the point. the main point I wanted to talk about here was just this overall feeling of the wheelbase. So we're going to hop off here, and we're going to go back to the rig, or not to the rig, we're going to go back to our desk here and gather our final thoughts here. Look at that fog, man. Holy crap. Let's go ahead and hop up out of here.
All right, so there you have it, guys. So as you can see, I am thoroughly impressed with this wheelbase. So I guess our final thoughts are this. Is this wheelbase truthfully worth it? I would have to say, if you are looking for the top tier of sim racing gear and equipment, without spending an arm and a leg going through, I guess you could say the comparison would be like a Simucube to Ultimate Wheelbase for $3,000. For less than half the price, you can get yourself an Invicta Ultimate Wheelbase, 27 Newton meters, with the sledgehammer power and precision scalpel detail for way less than half that price. So I would say that, truthfully, after testing this for about almost 6 to 8 weeks, it definitely lives up to the name of the Invicta Ultimate Wheelbase it claims to be. So with that, guys, hopefully you guys have been enjoying these closer look at these videos here. And of course, if you guys want to check out some more of these in-depth looks, I have some more on my channel. I have some more coming in the future as well. So super excited to share everything with you guys. And of course, this build that we have back here, as well as the second rig, which I'm super excited to do an updated tour video and share with you guys, obviously the build process and what everything looks like out here now as well. So with that, I will see you guys on the track.